my own worst enemy. I stare at the faces I once knew, lined up just to bury me. There's a long black heart.
So, good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to the WoT Pro League Season 2. Well, it's match day 13 and 14. Actually, yes, it is. I was getting confused and I was staring at the webpage. But we do have some phenomenal games coming up today. We do have a couple of fan favourites in the mix and someone who used to be the hash one out there but was dethroned rather recently. So the first game we'll be having coming up for you guys will be SPALE up against DeNova. Now, obviously, you guys out there, you know who these guys are. But just to give you a recap, obviously, SPALE are the fan favourites as such out there. And DeNova, we're going to have, you know, once as good but twice as even better. They'll be going up WoT Pro in the second game. So pretty much good stuff all around. I can't wait for it, and I'm pretty sure you're of the same kind of mind towards that one.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what these teams can do. It is the first time for us having spectating two teams, or the same two teams, in fact. They're going to be playing DeNova first, they're going to be playing SPALE, then WoT Pro will be our second game of the day, and it's going to be interesting to see how, you know, how they can develop and how they play against different teams. It's something we've never done before, so do let us know if you like it or not. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah, indeed. And speaking of development and how teams are getting on, let's have a little look at the season so far, because we are getting to the point now where the teams are getting into, you know, what you could call the kind of mid to later stages of the tournament. So you can already see a little bit of an upset straight away. Guys, if you saw the first season, if you saw the finals, you may have noticed that WoT Pro normally is in that first position, whereas Dignitas are now sitting up there looking pretty damn good. We did get the chance to actually watch that game, and that was something special. So, yeah, WoT Pro obviously knocked off that top spot by Team Dignitas. So this season's already heating up very early on. And what else jumps out to you about this so far?
Well, I think, you know, we didn't expect WoT Pro to lose against Team Dignitas. That was 3-1 on Thursday. That was a really surprising result.
Yeah, definitely.
I think WoT Pro perhaps could slip. We are seeing them as our second match today, so it'll be interesting to see how they're getting on, how they're dealing with that loss. Other results, surprising, I guess Evil Panda Squad sitting in fourth. Didn't really expect to see that, and considering they finished, I think it was 7th in the Season 1.
Really stepping it up then.
Exactly, really stepping up, getting some really solid wins under their belt. Really good for them. And Kazna as well, I mean, look at them, sitting in third. Incredible, really.
See, now, those were that was the guys I was going to go on to, because they're such a brilliant team. They're so charismatic. They're, you know, they were fairly, you know, not average. I think average is a harsh word. But in the first season, they were barely in the top 6. They were 6th in the first season final standings. And now looking at them, they're top 3. So they've really stepped up their game as well. So we're seeing a lot of teams kind of really coming into things and, you know, getting kind of used to the updates and any team changes that happened. And, you know, there's a couple of teams who are kind of doing a little bit, not as well, actually. You know, you look through the seasons, make sure you go on the website and check it out, because it's quite interesting to go through the standings and seeing who's, you know, really stepped up that game. And, well, we're seeing quite a strong kind of cut for Kazna and Evil Panda Squad, especially. I think Dignitas and WoT Pro, everyone expected to be at that top tier. But in that order, I don't think any of us could have expected that right now. This early on, at least. Last time we had to wait for the finals at DreamHack, but now we're getting treated to it very early that we've seen these upsets happening. So, guys, obviously you've heard our thoughts towards this, but I know there's a certain someone who's back into the studio with us here who can kind of give you a little idea of everything else that's going on and how you can get involved at home and try and let us know your thoughts towards the standings, especially so far, because the rankings are pretty damn impressive, because there's upsets galore, and we've even got some brilliant games coming up now. But let's pass over to that lovely lady herself, who knows exactly what's going on over in the social media section. How are we doing, Melly?
I'm good, thank you, Pansy. Well, we haven't heard your predictions yet.
Ah,
so
not yet.
In front of the first match, I guess. But you at home have also the chance of predicting the matches and winning some great stuff. Well, bonus keys in first place. And yeah, you can also ask questions via Twitter. It's WoT Pro League. Just make sure using the hashtag WoT Pro League. And I will hand over the questions to our two experts. You're experts? Yeah, you are an expert now.
Expert.
Oh, Jesus. Don't be so mean to yourself.
Oh, I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Glad
it started
you said
already.
That.
Unbelievable.
Well, keep your questions coming. I will have an eye on our Twitter account. I will also keep in touch with you. So if you have any questions, keep them coming. I will hand them over and get you your answers. And you also have the chance of predicting the matchups. Well, you just hop over to our Facebook page, WoT Pro League, and I will put up a picture in which you can comment the outgoings of the matchup, and yeah, between all right predictions, that's the word, we will give out 2 keys per matchup. So
nice.
Not having all this harsh Joe stuff we had last week where he's getting for exact scores and everything.
Joe's a hard taskmaster. Yeah. He's not as nice as Melly. Do let us know about that as well, your thoughts. Joe versus Melly. Everyone loves Melly, clearly. But obviously, guys, we do have that great game coming up. I did lightly mention it earlier. SPALE up against DeNova. Now, we will be having DeNova twice this time. So, it's going to be a good game all in all. But what are your predictions towards it? Because Melly said we hadn't done anything yet. So, predictions.
Well, predictions, I think this is going to be a tight game. I think we're going to see a 3-2, which we haven't really seen so far. We saw one in the early match days. But, it's quite strange that there have been so little 3-2s, but I think this will be one of them. I think it's going to go in the favour of DeNova.
Wow, okay,
Definitely.
So he's called that one. But I do believe we actually have the lineups there as well. So we're going to go through them. But I'm going to have to go for SPALE, to be fair. I'm a big fan of SPALE. They're just the community favourites, you know what I mean? Every time I've watched them, they've had such great personality. That's what they really are to me. And on paper, they can still perform with the best of them. That's the big thing. Looking back at the previous results between these two, DeNova generally edged ahead. In the first season, they always kind of pipped them to the post, and there was one game that they brought it back. And I thought, finally, SPALE are back into this. And then in this season, Season 2, SPALE lost to DeNova. I think even in just like the second match day, so straight out of the gates, they're already struggling against them. But SPALE have come into their own. But obviously, these lineups, inside out. Take us through these guys, and what sort of impact do you think some of these players can have on this game?
Well, I think if you look on the side of DeNova straight away, you see names jumping out. You like Ostat Bender. We've got Yuri, who's the YR even, who's the team captain for DeNova. A few other good players in there. Bad News is one of their new ones. Cripple. He's been improving a lot. He was in the Rush. One of the Russian teams on the other league. El Delgado's been improving. He's been steadily bringing himself up. He was questionable player. He kind of made a few basic mistakes, but now he's definitely one of the key cornerstones, I guess you could say, in the team. And looking over at SPALE's side, we see Muppety, we see the Kemp, all your favourite guys, all your community favourites. Eurofish as well, the team captain, fantastic player, usually leading from the front in an MX 5100 or post 8.6 artillery. Also, other good players include Moki Lumi. I mean, Dovahkiin plays that T69 fantastically. One of the guys to look out for sure in this coming game. Both teams pretty solid. I think this game's going to be about if SPALE can really nail down their tactics. They're one of those teams who sometimes have questionable pushes, they have questionable offensive movements. If they can, really nail it down, then I think DeNova's going to struggle a lot.
Yeah, exactly that. And it's going to see just how these guys, want to go into this. And the thing that I really like about this play day is the fact that we get to see DeNova against a second opponent as well. So obviously we're going to see how they progress, how they evolve themselves. But let's go back into this game, because I think the tank picking is just about to start. So let's not miss that for a second. As it's so important. As you said, SPALE can be one of those teams who, really pull out those interesting strats, who, go all out and just kind of throw things out there a little bit questionable sometimes. But obviously on Ruinberg, do you think we might see that? Or do you think we're just going to see, maybe some quirky tactics, but mostly standard tank picks?
I think we could see that indeed. I mean, quirky tactics is something we expect from SPALE. So, keep your eyes peeled for that one, because it's always an interesting game when we watch those guys. Tank picking has started indeed. Both teams opting for 2 T1s, 2 MX-3090s, like you said, pretty standard picks we're expecting here. DeNova picking a T69 MX-5100. Again, pretty standard. You got your 4-shell autoloader combined with your 6-shell autoloader. Eurofish from SPALE picking a T1 and a T69, and that's mirrored by DeNova as well. So pretty standard stuff. And it's going to be about how they use the tanks as opposed to the tanks they are playing. So it's going to be a good game either way.
Yeah, exactly. And I love seeing Ruinberg. We've already seen some quite, unique strategies coming out on this. I think Mouse Sports was one of them that we saw that was quite dominant. That was up against Virtus Pro, but it didn't pay off that time. But it's certainly interesting to see how the teams go about this. And the one thing I'm looking forward to is what can SPALE do here? Are they going to be the side that look obscenely strong that we've seen every now and then just coming out of the woodwork? Or are they going to be the side that just kind of throw a massive curveball and kind of go, well, what just happened there, guys? You know what I mean? They're such a hard team to predict, and I'm going to have to go with them on this one. I'm going to say they're going to take it on Ruinberg, but we're just going to have to find out, really. It's all down to the day on these guys, in my opinion. They're not the type to just, win by a small percentage. They either win by a mile or, it's just not going to happen. And that's what I want to see coming out. But we are going to go into Ruinberg right now. So, welcome to the first game here. Obviously, we do have SPALE up against the one and only DeNova, the ex-MYM side. And we do obviously see ourselves sitting here to find out who's really going to break the trend. These two have been going back and forth with their results. SPALE occasionally getting a little bit of a dig in now and then, but most of all, DeNova coming out on top. So, it's going to be a close one to call, but what do you see coming out so far from these guys? Well,
DeNova pushing straight up into the village. Don't be confused by Delgado's name. He's in fact DeNova, not MYM anymore. Obviously, the name hasn't been changed. Also, the TMX 3090 spotting Dovahkiin and Aga straight away, so early spots from both teams. The thing is, SPALE have that southern spawn, which is it's a tricky one to play because you've got to drive across the whole of an open field. Doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter where you go. And with the view ranges on these tanks and all the perks they have, etc., etc., and especially if they start picking stuff like coated optics, binocular telescopes, and it really is easy to spot them.
Yeah, and I just saw Dovahkiin actually landing a shell there onto the AMX 1390 that spill off kind of down that E9 line around that marker towards that village. So already SPALE getting the damage out there. Yeah,
nice shot there. We did see DeNova play this one before. I believe it was Matchday 5, something like that. And they actually won the match, but it was so close. We saw, I believe it was probably YR. I think he moved forwards, or Ostatman in his AMX 1390. He got blown away, taken down to 91 HP. Had to retreat and get out of there. But, DeNova, one of those teams which can mitigate damage a lot. They can, absorb it. They can put the tank behind, and they can move on without, some teams just crumble when they lose a tank or lose a lot of HP. DeNova isn't one of those. Dovahkiin connecting shell onto Delgado, taking him down to 1089. So that's a first bit of damage to SPALE at this point.
Yeah, SPALE doing very nicely there. I was a little bit worried about Dovahkiin. They went flying down towards that kind of village to the northeast central kind of part of the map, and I was like, ooh, that's a little bit brave there, but clearly paying off early on. But it seems that they've kind of got their static setup now sorted out for SPALE. They've pushed up around that F line across. They don't want to go too aggressive, it seems. They're just, spreading out. They're not focusing towards one area completely. They're just playing it smart, playing it relaxed. And finally, Dovahkiin does receive a shell.
Nice shot there, but, Delgado taking another one. This guy is AMX 1390. He's already down to 834. So at the moment, still Delgado taking a lot of damage, dropping to 157. In fact, he's just, I'm not sure he's going too far forwards. He's kind of ego playing. He should really learn his lesson. He should stay back and he should never got into a situation where he lost all of his HP in a few seconds. But good play from SPALE.
Yeah, perfect play from SPALE. Just allowing the DeNova side to play into their hands as such. It didn't need to go aggressive between Dovahkiin and one other. They laid down enough fire to get the connections in, and that's all they needed to do. So they still retain that nice early advantage there. HP truly on their side. Sending, well, the DeNova side back a little bit with a tail between their legs. Have to rethink what they're doing here.
Yeah, indeed. And now we're seeing Yuri, a.k.a. YR, pushing into the city side. I mean, we do see that a T1 is in the middle. He's pinging out. He knows that. He probably got spotted. The problem is for him, right, is if he gets spotted, then SPALE know they have one tank out of position. Obviously, if they know it's an AMX1390, they know that almost 1.5k damage it can burst out with that 6-shell autoloader is gone from the equation, and they can really use that to their advantage. They can have the firepower, they can have the HP advantage, and that's a really, really important key feature to have if you're going to push the village.
Yeah, indeed, and I think that SPALE have kind of cottoned on to what's going on the DeNova side, and they're going to make a counter push towards the northeast side of the map on that 9 and 0 line. Thierry, who is in that T69, is now joining his way around to join the likes of Dovahkiin, who's landing so much damage early on. The shells are being put down, and there's some nice connection coming out early on. Eurofish is in a touch of trouble. He's receiving a couple, but the more fire seems to be being applied to DeNova right now. Yeah,
DeNova taking a lot more fire. Aga taking down Delgado. He was on 157. AMX1390 having to retreat. Ostap Bender's down to 204, so one more shell will probably take him out. Aga, he needs to get around. He's in a bit of trouble. Eurofish is down to 69 HP as well, and there we go. He will get taken down. So at the moment, even exchange in that respect.
Yeah, Mufti went for kind of the final killing blow there, and he just got absolutely punished for it, though Dovahkiin, getting tracked, just has to get back into the action before he allows YR to get even more of him down. So a little bit of an exchange. YR damaged up, only on 179 right now, and it's going all in favor to SPALE in my mind right now. Although the damage is being shared out, they seem to be coming off better in this one.
Yeah, indeed. You can see on the scoreboard that SPALE have done a lot more damage, but they got a tank in the cap as well. So the pressure and the time limit is on SPALE. Theory's going to take a lot of damage. Also Yuri as well. He's actually going to get blown away. T1 going down, so suddenly they can't mitigate the cap. They can't put the pressure in the cap, but hopefully Dovahkiin can do the rest.
Yeah, Dovahkiin making his way back now towards his own cap circle, trying to find that T1. He knows exactly where he is. Didn't expect both of them, though. He is in trouble. He's got one. Going to have to look for the second now. Obviously, Win the Pooh trying to get the hell out of there. Just kind of work it around a bit, stay alive as best he can. But it looks like a bit of a losing battle. I think Dovahkiin's just going to go ramming in there and take him straight out of the picture. He does actually miss the shell and leave poor old Win the Pooh limping on just 2 HP. But there we have it. Takes him out of there quite comfortably. And I've got to say it to SPALE, they didn't pull out any kind of quirky tactics, but they certainly won their battles there. That was very impressive play from them. From a team that normally depends on the kind of out there strategies, the really off-the-wall stuff, they went back to basics, and it worked.
Yeah, that was very, very good. Smart play, in fact. Taking the shots they need to take, reversing, not taking the damage, something we don't see from SPALE a lot. That kind of whole, positional play where they get the positional advantage, they get the shots they need to get, and that's really, really good for them. Because I did say, this is a team that we'll see do really well towards the end of this season. Obviously, we're seeing them just smash DeNova there, and into season 3. And if they start playing like that more, then they're going to be some serious dangerous team, for sure.
I kind of align them with Kaznakru in my mind. They're that personality team. And we've seen Kaznakru now stepping up to actually get the results in the bag as well. They've had some brilliant results against the big guys, likes of Dignitas and WoT Pro. They're challenging. They're right at their heels. And I can see SPALE doing that. If they keep stuff like that up, it's going to be huge for them. I'd love to see them really getting in there. And it was just every single situation they seem to have an answer for. Nothing really threw them off there. Yeah. But I think they're just going to get ready to go on to the next map. It will be Himmelsdorf. Now, quite similar, I could kind of say, to Ruinberg. It's got that kind of city feel to it at a point, but obviously Himmelsdorf are a little bit more focused towards it. Who do you think this one's going to favour here?
I always say, DeNova is one of the stronger teams on Himmelsdorf. There is a kind of team that was born out of Himmelsdorf. Obviously, back in Go For What, when the team first formed under the name of Red Tide, they were playing the Red Rush back then, now known as Rush, now known as Navi. They just got picked up. So they're kind of born into it, they're kind of born out of the ashes of Himmelsdorf, having to play that team in the early rounds of Go For What every week for months on end, I think. Yeah. So I always say they're one of the better teams. But we saw SPALE play in, I believe, IEM Hanover. They played it so well against Kaznakru, and probably one of the most incredible games I've ever watched. So do check that one out. It'll be up on our Twitch channel. And that, if they can do it here, they can. There was proper reactional play. Then they're going to take it, because it's a close one. I would say DeNova then.
You're going to stick with the kind of, the more kind of standard, not necessarily standard, no, that's wrong, the more kind of comfortable pick for them. In theory, on paper, DeNova should have this, but SPALE are one of those teams that you can never kind of write out of things. They're just so good at just pulling something crazy out of there and just going, all right, guys, let's just really step up here, just to throw people off. But I think they're just about ready to get into tank pickings here, so let's have a look what they've chosen so far. Anything standing out to you? I think it's going to be fairly typical. I think we can kind of expect that much. But anything you think might kind of throw it off course a bit, or you know, very normal, very standard?
I think this is going to be pretty normal. I mean, DeNova is a team that picked the 110, actually, but that was on Ensk. They pioneered that tank, used it very well. I mean, we saw them playing really, really well, really doing the damage, really taking the damage, in fact. Obviously, the front armor is pretty bouncy, pretty strong, but not seeing it so far. The last picks are coming out. We're seeing at the moment an AMX5100 T1 from DeNova. SPALE replying with two AMX5100s, DeNova going for the T1 IS3. SPALE with the IS3 and the T69. DeNova opting for the two autoloaders, so the T69, the MX5100, and both teams going for one IS3 each. So SPALE, double IS3, double AMX5100, T69, double T1, pretty standard stuff. On the side of DeNova, we've got double IS3, double AMX5100, and a T69 plus those two key T1s. And, you know, pretty normal stuff.
Normal stuff.
Only difference really is the players. I mean, obviously the lineups are the same. But you know, I think it's a better game when the two teams have the same lineups. We say, you know, it's about skill, then it's about coordination, as opposed to, you know, he's taken this uber tank.
That tank's, you know, made that play.
Yeah.
So we are going to find out if, you know, which players really can step up, which team can really gel in the moments they desperately need it. We're into Himmelsdorf. Let's find out. So welcome to Himmelsdorf here. We do see the SPALE side starting down towards that south side, whereas DeNova populating the north. And we're just going to have to find out who's really going to edge ahead on this one. As you said, very similar tank picks, nothing really standing out, nothing too crazy out there. So it's going to come down to pure skill and ability inside those very similar tanks. Now, what are we seeing early on here?
DeNova going with the MX5100 to this train yard kind of wreck. It's a pretty standard move, actually, but the problem is, we've seen before, is if the other team pushes along the 2-3 line and the 1 line, then it kind of gets stuck there, you know? It can't really go back because it has to drive through the open courtyard, and it can't go forwards because obviously it'll be in the middle of everywhere and it get focused down. So, you know, risky move from Positive, risky move from DeNova, but he has got Winnie the Pooh there in that T1 to support him, and Rotten is to his left. SPALE gone quite offensive at the start, actually.
Well, yeah, Mokalumi has pushed forward in that T1. He has got a kind of glimpse of the likes of Ostad Bender there, and allowed Muppety to take just a shot, not necessarily a blind shot, but just kind of a little bit of a hope in hell there and try and get some connection. Didn't happen, so both retain that full HP and just play it out kind of carefully. But why do you think Mokalumi's gone so aggressive through that middle courtyard? I
think he just wants to keep the pressure onto DeNova at the moment. I mean, when he's there, it's a kind of a situation where they can't really reverse without obviously the other team knowing that they're reversing. They know they're going out because they're getting proxy spotted, and obviously information is the key thing on this game. Knowing where the other team is, knowing what they're doing, knowing what their movements are, it's the most important thing, because then obviously you can react to it. You can you know, push your tanks along the 2 line, for instance, if you know they're pushing away. And we see our first shot, again taking a big shell. I believe that was from
Delgado,
actually, indeed, yeah.
So not quite paying off SPALE's way so far, even though they put Mokalumi further forward down that 7 line, hoping they would pay off. He's actually in trouble now, being taken right down at the moment in that T1. Delgado and Ostad Bender just have to play it carefully. They already know he's literally ripped to shreds almost. A shell comes out from Agarhar from more sheer desperation than anything. No connection made onto Delgado. And right now, DeNova look a little bit like they have the upper hand in this situation.
Yeah, and it's going to get even worse. The SPALE, as Winnie the Pooh is pushing towards the cap. He wants to put the extra bit of pressure on. He wants to start thinking about how DeNova are going to put the pressure onto SPALE, and they will do that if they cap. We're seeing another shell being exchanged. Theory getting it taken down to 1-0-5-5. Positive's going to come up from behind. This is a pretty splintered push from DeNova.
Yeah, trying to pincer in the likes of Ostad Bender and Delgado. Dovahkiin pushing around the corner. Shells coming in as we speak. A slight reply onto Agarhar, but the DeNova side are being absolutely bombed to pieces right now. And I believe it's actually Mokalumi to to fall first there in that T1 as Delgado somehow stays alive on a mere slither of health. Finally put to bed by Agarher, but the damage was done there both ways. SPALE have not come off in the best way out of that situation at all.
No, one of their stupid pushes. I think that's probably the case here. Pushing through the middle is always a risky situation because you get pincered. We're seeing a push from Positive onto Eurofish. It's going to be a 1 versus 1, but obviously Positive has that HP advantage, so 2 shots will take him down 270. It's a low damage roll, but this one will do it. As Positive takes down Eurofish, that's a team captain of SPALE being removed from the game straight away, and we have another engagement.
Yeah, indeed. And while that one's gone rather swiftly downhill for the SPALE side, as now Dovahkiin is in a world of trouble. 3 tanks now just flooding in towards him. You see YR down there, Ostad Bender a lot. He's trying to get out of there into a better position in that T69. The base is being captured. He's all alone, and it's just not looking good right now. Muppety occupied this spot earlier, and it just looks like sheer and utter desperation from Dovahkiin, laying down the shells. Little to no connection. I don't think he can do anything here. No,
he certainly can't. 113 is his health. He will get taken down, but so many bounces from these 2 guys onto him, so not particularly elegant way of finishing the game. But I did say DeNova would be the stronger team on this map. We could see that way.
Very much
yeah.
so.
It was a pretty much a complete destruction of SPALE. You know, we saw Delgado in the I3 play so well. He got the shots off. He gave them the HP advantage. Theory went down as well in the AMX5100 to below 1,000 health from pretty much the beginning of the game. So straight away, DeNova are asserting their power. They're asserting their you know, their dominance onto SPALE, and that's what you need to do. You need to drop the confidence of the other team, and then if they get kind of cornered, and we see SPALE kind of get cornered, and as soon as they get cornered, they kind of push stupidly, then you take the win. Yeah.
You've just literally told us exactly what happened there. SPALE, it breaks my heart to see it, because I do love watching those guys, but when they just pull out things like that, it's a little bit like they're almost, you know, giving up early on. You know what I mean? It's like they lost a little bit of an exchange, or they didn't have a massive advantage at the start like they did on the first map. And they're like, well, guys, let's just push. It's like, come on, guys, you're better than that. That's the thing with SPALE. They've got so much potential. I want to see them start using it. You know, one-on-one tank abilities, I don't think they, you know, are lower than anyone in that. I think they're pretty much on par. If not, you know, the same. They're exactly the same, if not better at, you know, these things. But they just kind of rush through. I want to see more from them. It really, you know, it's that map especially. It takes patience. It takes discipline. And that's when I just see SPALE going, let's just rush through the middle, guys. It's like,
that's pretty much the thinking behind quite a lot of SPALE's tactics. I mean, DeNova were putting the pressure on them, like we saw Positive and Winnie the Pooh. Obviously, Positive was playing the AMX5100, Winnie the Pooh was playing the T1. You know, they kind of came round, flanked, they put him in the cap. Positive was coming from behind. It was a really clever move from DeNova, because even before SPALE's push, they were doing that already. So they were in the situation to snipe them from behind. And that's the kind of difference, you know, with SPALE just playing so kind of single-mindedly, so tunnel vision, I would even say. But DeNova really abstract, you know, really using every single player as its own players, as instead of just, you know, arbitrarily pushing all your tanks into pretty much a slaughterhouse. But we are onto our second map, which will be Ensk. Obviously, 3 city maps today. So we had Rurenburg, then we had Himmelsdorf, and now we're into Ensk. So
I like Ensk. I like the city maps. I always feel like this nice exchange between the tanks. You can see some, you know, either quirky or quite cheesy strats coming out. We did watch a couple of VODs, to say the least, and there's some real cheesy strategies out there. But I don't get to see them much from these guys. Well, I'd say that we're watching SPALE. Maybe I spoke too soon. You know, they could go for something crazy here. And on Ensk, you know, you've seen these guys time and time again playing this map. Who do you think is going to become, you know, has a little bit of an advantage, you know, looking at this one? Who's going to kind of edge ahead? Because obviously, well, I thought, you know, maybe SPALE could pull something out on the last map, but they were certainly outclassed there. Is this going to be another similar case of Himmelsdorf all over again?
I don't know. I don't think it will be. I think this kind of suits SPALE. I think we probably saw the best tactic from them, in fact, back in Season 1. They kind of hinted, I think it was against Kazakhstan. I think it was the last game of the season. It was the one that got them, you know, got them qualified for DreamHack. They kind of pincered them. They kind of had 2 AMX5100s in the city area, and then they kind of pushed the IS-3 and the T69 from behind. You know, we haven't seen coordination like that on Ensk before. So I think, honestly, even though it is another city map and they just lost the other 2, SPALE has the better team on this one, I think.
Okay, so we're going to have to find out what tank picks they're going for. They are just going to get ready to get into the picks now. So what are we seeing here? Is this something you'd expect? Is there anything a little out of the blue? But to me, this looks quite normal.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, this is another city map, although DeNova picking in 110, but so far an MX5100 T1 2 T1s coming from SPALE, DeNova with AMX5100, and a T1 before SPALE takes 2 AMX5100s. The IS-3 coming out from both teams alongside that T69 as well. The surprise pick, which is not really a surprise anymore just because DeNova always seems to play it on this map, is the 110 I was saying, talking about it earlier. It's a strong tank, has a lot of armor. Depends what gun he's using. I believe he's probably going to use the more IS-3 gun, the 390 average damage. It has a pretty bad accuracy, I think, in the late .3s. But if he can really do the damage and he can really get himself into that situation, we saw Delgado play it so well, it's going to really pay off for DeNova. Pretty fast tank as well.
Yeah, indeed. We're going to have to find out. I think they are almost ready to go here on to ENCE. This could be the defining moment here. SPALE could really turn things around, and they kind of need to. They're a team that depends so much on confidence. I want to see them bring it in this game. They fell apart in Himmelsdorf, literally crumbling under the pressure of DeNova. We're going to go to ENCE. Let's find out if they can hold up. And welcome to ENCE. Obviously, we will be seeing once again that south side populated by SPALE, the guys who pulled out something fantastic on this map before, really clawing it back against the Kazna crew, as my lovely co-caster Ollie mentioned. But in that north side of the map, we do see the opponent, the enemy, DeNova. So this could be one of those games to really define how this match pans out. What are we seeing early on here from both of these sides?
Well, they're both going for the city, as you would expect. Delgado's going to push in with Ostatbender to that middle area. He's want to get the hold down position between these houses here. Muppety getting spotted. Ostatbender missing his shot. Muppety getting away quite luckily, but there we go. Delgado connecting the first shot of the game. 342 damage. Yes, he is using that bigger gun, not the 100mm faster reloading one. So that's going to be really key in this map. If he can use that gun properly, which is not easy, then I think DeNova have such a good chance. But SPALE, really aggressive, as we often see from them.
Yeah, indeed. Putting those 2 IS-3s all the way up there, not holding back for a second. Literally only centimeters away from Okilumi, the T1, who's generally just trying to spot things out here. But these guys really putting all their eggs in one basket. So spotting Ostatbender there again in the IS-3, the early exchange that didn't go down in their favor. Eurolfish pushing up a little bit down that main road, just trying to keep eyes on, maybe going to get an angle there. I don't think you really can, but they're certainly looking a little bit tunnel visioned here. You said it's one of the bigger problems. It looks like it might be happening again, unless they somehow keep hold of the rest of this map. Look how much they're leaving completely unchecked, depending on Dovahkiin to hold the entirety of the 6 to the 9 line. This is a risky strategy from these guys.
Yeah, you would usually see the 2 T1s kind of populate that area, try and get the spots out. Okilumi does get spotted by Ostatbender once again. He's pretty good position actually to put the pressure on by capping. Theory being spotted in that AMX5100. He's got to be careful. He kind of got away with something there because Ostatbender wasn't there to connect the shell. As he does get pinged, I believe, probably by an AMX5100 shot from a bush there. Yes, it was Eurolfish. But, you know, you say that T69 is just defending that side, Dovahkiin. It's the same for DeNova, only YR is defending the 6 to 9 line, obviously with that T1 behind.
Yeah, and finally Agaha got a little bit of vengeance back for the early damage dealt towards Muppety there. Finally damage up Ostatbender, taking him down to 1133. And now it may not seem much now, but I assure you guys later on that can make a world of difference. So these two just had a bit of a stalemate. YR though has been spotting that T69, and SPALE might have to keep eyes on that pretty soon because surely they're going to start worrying about that train track side of the map. You know, straight down past that 7 line, it's got to be a worry.
Indeed, YR's going to try and exploit that a little bit. He's pushed forwards, getting stuck between the 2 houses, not realizing there is actually a door there, so you can't really drive through there. YR, I'm afraid. Don't get yourself stuck. Theory's going to take some damage, and we have an engagement, actually.
Yeah, indeed. And Mokilumi's already gone down that T1 who positioned on the left side of the house, needing those IS-3s to cover him off. They couldn't do it as the MX-5100 for DeNova pushed, flanking around that left side. Ostatbender is being forced back. The shells are landing towards him. 487 now left on him. He's going back in for more, and he is feeling the wrath of SPALE right now.
Yeah, Ego playing for Ostatbender. Muppety will finish him off. The last shell connecting from that IS-3, and straight away DeNova are on the back foot. I did say SPALE has the more cunning tactics on ENSC, one of the better teams, usually from the north, actually, not a team that likes that southern spawn, but playing it very well. Ostapbena, don't know why, moving so far forward.
Yeah.
They don't get these teams, Why do they always do that? They should just keep the tanks back. They should try and mitigate the damage.
Well, they're making the most of the situation right now. Why are pushing forward? But it's Delgado to track the likes of Muppety, who's now pretty much stuck here and being surrounded by the opposition, down to 84, now taken out of the picture. And the DeNova side bringing it back even, and SPALE have to respond now.
Yeah, Agaher connecting a shell. Theory's also in trouble, but look at that. The MX-5100 has to retreat. He's reloading. He's on 92 HP. Potential positive has the last shell. Yes, he does. Taking down Theory. Good shot from him.
Yeah, but look at Dovahkiin spinning all the way around the back. He could flank a lot of these guys right now. He's going around that right side. He knows that YR and Positive are all there. Will he expect a Eurofish pushing up as well? The damage is being dealt left, right, and center. He is receiving shells from Positive. YR flanking around the side as well. T69 versus T69. They're almost equal. 144 left on YR right now. Dovahkiin needs to land this desperately, and they're just going to battle this one out as best they can, both on that reload. And the rest of the team are falling beside them. Agaher, 110 HP. Delgado on him already. Positive now flying around the back of Dovahkiin. This could be it for him. Oh, Positive actually gets the hell out of there. And what is going on right now? Both sides are being absolutely dominated. Dovahkiin finally lands the shell there onto YR, getting the advantage just for SPALE in that little 1v1. But Delgado needs to fall if they want to stand a chance here.
Yeah, Delgado being so lucky at first shell bouncing him. Dovahkiin will finally finish him off. He was on full HP when he pushed Agaher. Agaher was sitting on about 500-600. So Delgado getting completely destroyed. A massive blow for DeNova. But, it's pretty even Stevens at this point. Yes, SPALE has the extra tier 8 tank to back them up, but look how much health Positive have. We go. Dovahkiin will finally get taken out, and now it's 2-all, and Positive's going to go on Eurofish. Eurofish got the HP advantage. Positive's going to have to try and reverse out of that situation. Eurofish is still on reload, obviously, but now we have a cap.
Yeah, indeed, cap underway. The clock is now ticking against SPALE. And only Agaher and Eurofish alive. Eurofish pushing forward in that AMX-5100. Oh, beautiful play, trying to turn the tide here now. Only Winnie the Pooh left standing. The clock's still ticking, but in theory, this should be SPALE's.
Indeed, it should. Good shots there, taking both tanks out immediately. That's that pincer movement I was talking about. 22 seconds left on the clock, so Eurofish is going to have to get back very quickly. Yes, he will connect the shell, and that will be the win from SPALE. Very, very strong performance from them, and it's really about bringing those tanks together, really about bringing the team together and connecting those shells. I mean, but, when DeNova lost their IS-3, obviously Ostapbena was playing that, it was pretty much all over. And they did a good push. They did a really good push. But, losing the IS-3 for doing almost no damage at all is almost too much of a blow to come back from.
Yeah, it's not what I expect to see from DeNova as well, though. Those guys are normally so good in these situations, but for some reason, on that map, they just seem to be a little bit behind every single time. Every single exchange, they took the advantage, it was brought back, and then that final kind of exchange, it just didn't happen for them. So, obviously, we are going into the next map in just a moment, so it will be Mines. But for you, how defining was that map? Do you think that's kind of brought the confidence back towards SPALE?
Yeah, I think, the momentum's in their park now. And they're a very good team on Mines. So, they've had some good successes. They've had some failures as well. But it is a kind of a map that, it supports their kind of gameplay. But going back to ENSC, we can talk a bit about Delgado's performance at 110. I did say it would be one of the defining tanks, but it was just a player error then. He was on full HP, 1,550. He pushed forwards out into the street, which is a complete gamble. And then as soon as he was out there, he couldn't do anything. He was just stuck. He either had to kill Agaher in his I3, or he would die, and he couldn't do it. He left Agaher on 227 HP. Dovahkiin and Eurofish came from behind, finishing him off, and that was a blow too many for DeNova, I think. Yeah,
just kind of stretched a little bit too thin. I feel they're such a talented bunch, but clearly that map just not quite beside them. They are ready now to go into the tank picks towards Mines. So let's see what they're picking so far. Is there anything that you think they might bring out on this one? Do you think we're going to see the normal picks here? Obviously, I wouldn't ever dare tell you, would they ever bring out RT, but, I kind of hope for something a little bit quirky from these guys.
Yeah, well, we're hoping for that. T71 could come out if we're lucky, but so far, AMX-3090 is the tank of this map. T1s as well also being picked. We're seeing A T69 coming out from SPALE is one of the tanks we do enjoy watching on Mines. We saw last match day, in fact, I think it was more WoT taking it 3-2 against Dragonborns. The final map was Mines after a draw. More WoT taking 4 T69s, in fact, working really well for them. They got them on the hill. They got the they had the gun depression to really focus down Dragonborns, and it does look like DeNova are opting for that tank, perhaps for similar reasons, picking 2 of them, but SPALE picking another 2 as well, so a good retort from them, so pretty similar in terms of damage at this point, although SPALE has that extra T69.
And I love the way all the teams kind of, work together in a way. Or they kind of evolve together in the tank picture.
Yeah.
A team tries something, and maybe the next play day we see it coming back around again because they're like, oh, we quite like that. Let's see if we can work that into our next game. And it seems to be evolving quite rapidly at the moment. And, you see tanks coming in and out of favor. I was only watching the VODs not too long ago, and there's a completely different set of tanks that I was watching. So it's nice to see these guys really trying to keep up and obviously rolling with the updates and any sort of changes. These guys have overcome them and still just looking so strong.
Yeah, indeed. As tank picking continues, 2 T69s from SPALE, so they're going for a really heavy T69 lineup so far, with only 1 AMX 1390 to support those tanks. But DeNova similar, picking an AMX 1390 and another T69. Oh, interesting pick coming out actually. The final pick of DeNova's lineup as their kind of wild card, I guess. They don't want to reveal their tactic too soon. Will be a T32. So from the southern spawn, DeNova going for that 298 millimeters of turret, frontal mantle turret armor. The gun depression it does good damage, 320, decent penetration, 244 with premium ammo. A tank we saw a lot of in the past. It's not used that much anymore. We saw more WoT DE take it once or twice, I believe, actually. But this is
a rarity.
It's very rare. It's this really like early 2012, 2011 business here.
And why do you think they've gone for that? You went us through the stats there, and I can kind of see on paper why it's an appropriate tank. But why do you think they'd go for it on Mines in a map they need to win?
I think it's a mixture of things. We can see SPALE's taking 4 T69s. And I think it's one of the reasons why they took the T32, because obviously since 8.6, the heat changes cause it to kind of bounce on tracks. Obviously tracks now act as spaced armor. You shoot a heat ammo at the tracks, and suddenly you do no damage at all. And obviously the T32 is pretty much just a tank on, I would say a tank on tracks, which is obviously it's a tank, but that doesn't really make sense. It's a tank pretty much made of tracks. Like the whole side of the tank is just a tracks, and then the turret is just armor. So. If it can mitigate, they're going to push it onto the hill. If it can mitigate that damage, if it can get focused by SPALE, then suddenly, DeNova can really put the pressure on. And I think that's one of the reasons why they took it. Yeah,
really going for a bit of a counter pick then, almost. That's going to see that pays off. Obviously, DeNova really kind of putting their not their neck out on the line, but this could cost them a lot if this sort of play goes wrong here. Now, reading the opponent, seeing those T69s, thinking, okay, with the updates in mind, as you said, this could work for us. It's going to be a bit risky, though. Surely, I want to see how they play this one out. I've got a lot of faith in these guys. If anyone can do it, obviously, DeNova are a talented bunch. It's not like they're, down the bottom of the league. They are ranked 5 at the moment. These guys are certainly not someone you can take lightheartedly. But it's still very risky at this point. This kind of mid-table, section. If you keep losing these games, or you lose a couple, you can really tumble. And obviously, it is only top 6 that goes through into the finals, I do believe. So they don't want to start, losing things. So every kind of time they bring out something like this, it's always a risk. But I want to see if this pays off, because it really could stop SPALE in their tracks and such. Do excuse the pun. I'm so sorry. I feel disappointed in myself there, but clearly there's a couple of American casters for a different game who've been, doing puns around me the whole time, and it's sunk in.
Woven itself into your grammar. Well, fair enough. It was a good one. I don't think you even meant to do it. But yeah.
Wow, way to judge me there. Woo! Cruelty.
Well, we're just waiting on the teams. DeNova says 30 seconds, but obviously 30 seconds has passed. Ron saying okay, so we should be ready to go into game. And I think DeNova has to be the stronger team here.
He's called it. Let's find out on Mines. So welcome to Mines. We have seen some curious picks coming out from the DeNova side, who'll be starting up in the north side of this map, whereas the south side will be populated by SPALE, the people's favorite, the people's heroes. And let's see if we can pull it out on this one. They've gone for that T69 heavy lineup, and it's risky. But what are we seeing early on here from these guys?
Well, DeNova pushing towards the hill. YR's probably going to try and do a quick spot out. You can obviously see that interesting pick. Delgado playing the T32, pretty slow. Positive having to give him a little shunt up the hill, giving them a little boost. I guess it could be really important, you know. But the problem with this tank, if there is any problem, will be how versatile can it be? You know, if SPALE start capping with the two T1s and Delgado somewhere on this side of the map, perhaps, then they're not going to be able to get him back in time. Really tricky for them to do that. Obviously, he's got to play it properly. He's obviously got to react to things quickly. That will be the key to his performance here.
Well, the shells are being exchanged. I was going to say no connection, but finally a shell does land for SPALE. That's from Euralfish there onto Delgado. Indeed,
Delgado taking the first shell, but he did bounce a couple, so he's definitely playing his cards right at the moment. BND going up on the hill, spotted by Delgado. Euralfish is there. He's actually going to connect a shell, 348 of that 320 average, landing onto Euralfish, and he's this is exactly what Delgado should be doing. You know, he should be sitting on the hill, should be saying, "Okay, SPALE, come on, try and hit me, try and do some damage," and he's going to be landing those shells, and suddenly SPALE's going to be on the back foot. Suddenly SPALE won't have the HP to deal with any push, any offensive action from DeNova.
Oh, but look where Dovahkiin is going, and B&D right now, pushing all the way around. They're trying to get a shell to connect. It's Delgado to finally get damage there. 275 coming in, 257. Delgado is down onto 285 HP. It was a bit of a risky push there. They have lost Dovahkiin. Delgado did connect that shell, but finally they've been able to damage that T32. Euralfish now diving into the action.
Yeah, Delgado connecting some shell. Euralfish is there in the back, 126 left. He's going to be very cautious. He's going to reverse it. He's going to get away with that one. In fact, Ostatbender not managing to connect the final shell. But now Ostatbender is going to go on the offensive. He's going to, well, he's going to retreat straight away because he's getting pummeled. 246, followed by that 229. In fact, wow. Ostatbender taking a lot of damage, really unnecessary damage, in fact.
Yeah, there was no need for that to be put there. I could see the push from SPALE was necessary to try and damage, obviously, that kind of curious tank choice of Delgado, because it literally was the thorn in their side. But that was just a little bit, you know, risky, a little bit ego play, such, you know, just lingering a bit too long. So now, obviously, B&D did push up to try and support there, and they did put that damage down towards Delgado. The T69 still around that middle section. Euralfish on only 126 HP. But SPALE overall looking okay, even though they lost that one tank. The Dovahkiin did go down. They did get some damage kind of put around. So I don't think we can say there's a clear, you know, leader at the moment, because the HP damage is pretty much well shared out. BND did manage to catch a glimpse of that T1 over on the island over there, but no shell to connect. So bit of a stalemate, but I think both teams are fairly even at this point until obviously that one pivotal moment.
Indeed. I mean, the one problem for DeNova right now is Delgado sitting in that T32. He was playing the role of trying to mitigate some damage. Theory taking another shell, trying to respond with the AMX 1390, but not managing to do anything, getting away too quickly. But as I was saying, Delgado, you can't play that damage soaking game anymore. You know, he was in the middle at the beginning, trying to soak some damage, trying to return some shells, but now he's sitting on 285, which is a potential one-shot for pretty much every single one of SPALE's tanks. You know, he can't risk it. He can't risk get himself taken out. And with Ostatbender sitting on 633, and if he goes down, suddenly DeNova won't have the HP. You know, they might still have the firepower, those AMX 1390s, but they won't have the HP to deal, even with SPALE losing their AMX 1390. Obviously, DeNova can play on that one.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if it was worth the exchange then to do that much damage to Delgado and lose possibly Dovahkiin. I think you've kind of explained it perfectly there, that if the situation does not pan out in favor to DeNova, there could be an issue. Couple of blind shots coming out. They're trying to get some connection. Euralfish there all the way over the island trying to get some off. Thierry as well, but no connections yet that I can see. But they're certainly trying to find out exactly where DeNova are right now.
Indeed. They did connect one, actually. It was onto the AMX 1390 sitting in the bush. He's down to 864. So he's got to be a little bit more careful. He's got to stay back. He's got to bide his time, make sure his blind shots or his spotted shots into theory. Obviously, he was doing that earlier. You know, are done properly. He can't just waste HP in this situation, especially with Ostapen and Delgado sitting at fairly low HP in that T32 and the T69. But you know, both teams kind of want to reset themselves here. You know, they want to think about what they're doing. They want to move their tanks up into the next position. We can see YR pinging out towards the village area. I think they want to push the MX-1390s there, perhaps, while sending Delgado and Ostapen through the middle area. But you know, pinging everywhere on the map. So it's unsure what they're going to do here. I think they're just discussing tactics, liaising with each other, and seeing what they can come up with.
Yeah, and that's the best way to use this time right now. It is that kind of quiet time between moments of absolute madness, where they might be able to find out, you know, what they think the weak spot in SPALE is now with Dovahkiin down and out. They might be trying to work out how to now take the fight towards them. I do see a couple of spots coming in, and there goes that T1 of Mokialumi going down to Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, nice little connections from Winnie the Pooh. I think he even set Mokialumi on fire. I'm not sure, obviously, that fast-firing gun doing 12 average damage, pretty spectacular since it's got an autoloader. So used very well from Winnie the Pooh. Unfortunately, it has a kind of you know, a limit to how far it can shoot, about 300 meters. But now we have you know, really DeNova have the advantage. You know, 9 points ahead at this point. Obviously, SPALE losing the MX-1390 early on to a push, although it did do quite a lot of damage onto DeNova. Delgado playing that T32. And also now a T1, so they don't have that option of sending tanks into the cap or putting pressure, you know, from behind or to take out those T1s of DeNova.
Yeah, exactly that. And they've lost complete vision from 7 to 9 now, completely leaving that open, kind of consolidating themselves towards the middle of this map. See BND T area there, not too far away. Agaha and Euralfish taking more of a backseat role in this after being knocked down to only 126 HP. So both sides still playing quite carefully from what I can see. No one wants to break it, but you can see how far sat back the, well, DeNova side are, whereas SPALE more completely focused towards that 5 and 6 line, just sat in mid, trying to hold it. As almost it's a kind of linchpin of the map, but right now they could be completely blanketed by the opponent.
Indeed, that's an option for SPALE and DeNova. I mean, we're seeing Ostapen kind of reversing. He's going forwards again. I think the last thing he wants to happen is for Theory or BND, perhaps even Ago playing those T69s, to come up from behind and pummel him. Delgado's got to be careful as well because he's pretty much a one-shot. But, you know, Yuri is playing a little bit more offensively. He's spotted out BND in the MX-1390, obviously one of SPALE's new players. In fact, he joined the roster in Season 2, at the beginning of Season 2, replacing, I believe, Watilla. He was, you know, I think he had some obligations or something, a holiday. So he's played really well so far. Pretty impressed with his performance. He's really supplemented SPALE's lineup. Not so much as perhaps Rune's supplemented Kazakru's lineup. I mean, since he's joined the team, you know, they've done so well, you know, going 8-4 now in the season. So, you know, lineup changes making a big difference, really adding things to the teams. You know, and every season this is going to happen. The teams are going to get stronger and stronger. The players are going to get stronger and stronger. And they're going to find their niche and they're going to find their weak spots, their strengths. But now we have a little bit of movement. 1 minute and 40 seconds left on the clock. We are pushing back behind the house, trying to find a defensive position.
Yeah, indeed. But still, SPALE not wanting to do too much here. As you said, BND just kind of probing back and forth, laying off a couple of blind shots towards the village there. And I think SPALE know they're a little bit of a loss almost right now, obviously after losing Dovahkiin very early on, and then followed by Mokialumi, losing so much of that vision, just seems to have cut, you know, almost a limb off for them. And I'm kind of curious as to what's going to break this one, or if they're going to just try and play this out as it is.
Well, if they do decide just to play out and go to a draw, obviously 1 minute and 7 seconds left on the clock, they will lose because obviously our tier 8-point rule we have in this WoT Pro League gives the team the win if they have 8-point advantage. So obviously Dovahkiin sitting there, MX-1390 dead, is a tier 8 tank, French tier 8 tank. Also Mokialumi playing that T1, so 9 points. We'll take them over the limit, so if this counter does tick down to 0, the DeNova team will take it 3-1. So obviously it's SPALE's move now. You know, they have to do something to break this. They have to take down Delgado. That will be their mission. But Ostapen is sitting there trying to stop that as B&D is pushing forwards.
Yeah, B&D is the one to find the first of the opposition there. Get himself in a bit of a pickle, to say the least. Shells now raining in towards SPALE. Thierry is being damaged up, but nice damage being put back towards Positive. It's a good exchange so far. It's very close.
Yeah, Delgado's in trouble now. B&D is going to come up behind him, but he's going to take a lot of damage. 634, he gets blown away. YR doing the shot. I mean, B&D, I was saying, you let me down there, man. I was saying you're really supplementing the team, but jumping off and losing 600 HP is not what I was talking about. And now, well, GG, DeNova takes it.
Yeah, indeed. And I'm rather surprised it went in that fashion, of all things. SPALE normally, you know, they either go crazy or they go awesome, and it either goes big or you go home, and that's fine by me. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
But right then, they just seemed lost. They didn't really know what to do. The execution was very poor. It just, what happened to them?
I mean, it was that early advantage DeNova got. SPALE, you know, they have questionable execution. I think we talk a lot about the team having problems with push-ins and stuff, but it's not really about offensive action. That's not the problem. You know, being offensive and taking initiative is a really good thing, and it's why, you know, some of the teams win. You know, WoT Pro, another offensive team. I mean, or even Team Dignitas playing pretty offensively, and they're sitting in their top 2 positions. But SPALE problem, their real core problem is execution. You know, sending an AMX 3090 on a limb on top of a hill, which is pretty much just, you know, sitting there waiting to get shot. It's like, you know, shooting a turkey or something. You can't do that, and it got lost, and suddenly you can't do anything. You know, you can't play offensively, you can't even play defensively because you've lost that HP, you've lost the damage. So it's really a problem with execution in the team.
Indeed. Well, I'm always glad that DeNova won that, because obviously coming up next, we do have them up against WoT Pro. Now, that's going to really push them. If you thought SPALE was a challenge,
it's just a warm-up, this.
This is literally the warm-up for WoT Pro now. They're just, you know, been sitting there waiting, you know, playing their first games. Now they're ready for the meal. But before we get to that point, before we go too far ahead of ourselves, we have had a fantastic start here to this day so far. You know, obviously, seeing SPALE doing some wonderful things there, really pulling out some great play, but it certainly wasn't their best of days today, I'd say.
Certainly not. They really need to start working on their core problems of the team. You know, they need to move up to the next level. The team needs to go and really think about what they're doing. They need to get the training sessions in, and perhaps think about, you know, have they got the right team players in there? You know, that's not the first time we've seen SPALE jumping off a cliff and lose 634 damage. So a lot of problems, but they're definitely improvement.
Yeah, indeed. And obviously you've seen our thoughts towards this, and we will be heading over to social media in just a second, just to see what everyone else has been thinking, because I think it's one of those games that it's quite hard to call on that. But we are going to find out exactly what's going on with that one. Jesus. Actually, no, tell a lie, there is another map.
Oh. Oh, it's 2-2.
Am I going mad here?
Okay, fair enough.
We're going mad. Don't worry.
I think we're going insane.
Don't worry.
Yeah, we're just really... Well, it doesn't matter. We have another... I did say it would be 3-2, so at least I'm right and wrong at the same time.
I'm never trusting him again.
Yeah.
Never.
I thought that... Let me check that. I've got to check that again.
We're checking this. But Whirly checks. They are going into another match. It's not over yet, folks. We thought it was. It's not. And how did that happen?
No, DeNova definitely won that one. So,
I am confused.
And they were 1-up, weren't they?
I am confused.
No, they weren't 1. The problem was they weren't 1-up. We got it completely wrong. So obviously, yeah, okay, fair enough.
It's Monday, folks.
Indeed it is. It's Monday. Monday blues.
Roll with us. Yeah. Anyway, we won't be going on to Prokhorovka now, which will be the next map. Tank picks are underway. So let's dive straight into that one. Now, this is going to be an interesting lineup. Now, these two obviously fighting it out so far. We thought Mines was close. We've got another game coming up on another very similar kind of... Actually, no, it's a very different map. We've had city maps almost throughout this, apart from the last, which is a little bit of an oddball, to say the least. There's nothing quite like Mines. But Prokhorovka, what can we expect on this? We saw that SPALE can do wonders on city maps, and then they can also fail parlously on city maps. What about these kind of maps? Do you think these could, you know, help them out a bit here, or do you think this could be just the nail in the coffin?
I think this could be the I don't know. It could be a nail in the coffin. DeNova, I think, are a stronger team on city maps. I mean, they completely blew away SPALE on Himmelsdorf, so definitely the stronger team on those kind of maps. But SPALE, you know, they're a team that has quite a lot of really good players. You know, they have the player skill on a map like Prokhorovka, where it is all about you know, those individual player performances, about connecting those long shots, connecting those blind shots, having that instinct, I could say, you need really on this kind of map. You know, it can really work in their favor. It can really work wonders. And I think this could go 3-2 in SPALE's favor.
And what we've seen from the tank pick so far, they look very normal to me. I haven't seen anything kind of jumping out at me. They look almost mirrored to this point. Do you think that's what you'll be seeing kind of going into this one?
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing mirrors. I mean, we'll be lucky if we see a WZ-132, that tier 8 Chinese tank. But so far, nothing of the sort. AMX-1390s from both teams, 2 T1s from both teams, T69 ×2 being picked by DeNova, SPALE responding with a T69 and a T1 pick. So far, pretty much the same lineups. DeNova picking T1 AMX-1390, and Eurofish from SPALE picking the T69 and the AMX-1390. Just weighing on that last pick from both teams. Indeed, DeNova's picking an AMX-1390 for that. Now just weighing on SPALE's last pick, I think we'll also see an AMX-1390, perhaps a T69. If there's anything that's going to go a little bit odd, it would be here. No, we're having another T69. So from the side of DeNova, we have that triple AMX-1390, the double T69, 2 T1s. So going for that really fast lineup. But SPALE going for the double AMX-1390, the triple T69. So the switch between the T69 and the AMX-1390, we see so much coming into the equation. And it's going to be about that, you know, more burst damage versus more sustained damage from the AMX-1390, plus the speed and the kind of maneuverability of the tank. All those factors are going to be very, very important in this game.
Yeah, and it's going to be hard to call, I reckon. Who do you think is going to come out the better on this?
I think SPALE is going to be really hard to beat on this. I mean, triple T69, and look at those players playing at Agar, Theory, and Dovahkiin, 3 of the best T69 players we have in the Pro League, in fact. But DeNova, they've proved themselves a really consistent team. You know, they've had a lot of good results. They've started to slip a little bit. I mean, losing 3-0 to Kazakh, struggling against Dragonborns. But here we go on Prokhorovka.
So, welcome here to Prokhorovka. Obviously, we will be seeing SPALE once again starting in that south side, whereas the north side will be populated by the DeNova boys. Now, obviously, DeNova getting the better of SPALE in the last map, but this is a completely different situation. It's a completely different map. We're going to have to see who really edges ahead. And what are we seeing early on here coming out from your guys?
Well, DeNova just going straight up the middle, not something we always see, pretty much never see, in fact. Usually we see the T1s going up towards the more forest area, and the T69 also with them, you know, sticking them with them, trying to provide the backup for them. But, you know, DeNova going really offensive, pushing forwards. We're seeing that MX-1390 weave itself in and out. BND trying to connect his shell onto the MX-1390, but no damage so far.
Yeah, Delgado laying down those shells. As you said, BND just nipping through. They've caught a glimpse of them now. The couple of the blind shots are coming out. Positive is receiving a couple of shells here, there, and everywhere. Taking down to 1-1-0-1. An aggressive play coming out from DeNova, charging forward in those AMX-1390s. And this might catch SPALE off guard. Yeah,
it could do. Good move from DeNova now. We saw Dovahkiin, I believe it was, or Theory sitting in the T69. He took like 3 or 4 shells. So he is down to 8-5-1. In fact, it will be 2 shells he took. Dovahkiin's got to be careful. Cripple and YR can really try and get behind him. They can try and connect the shell, but Cripple has got to be careful. You know, he doesn't want to get caught out on top of that railroad. He doesn't want to get caught out in the situation where he could possibly tracked, which would be disastrous for DeNova. And you know, they don't want to repeat the mistakes of SPALE. They don't want to lose an AMX-1390 early on. Dovahkiin taking a lot of damage, 3-4-6. He's getting proxy spotted by Cripple. He's trying to get out of there unsuccessfully so far. The shells are landing left, right, and center, but you know, just about getting away with it by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, and DeNova really applying everything they have right now. You can see finally a little bit of a reply from SPALE, letting the damage fly out there. Thierry laying that one down because that flag was being captured. You see Winnie Pooh and I think it's Ron in there, actually. And lovely exchange going down the village right now.
Yeah, Aga's connecting the shells. 157, he will take him down. Theory's in the background. He took quite a lot of damage, but B&D's in a bit of trouble as Cripple is doing the damage. Actually, Cripple will take down Dovahkiin filing that and using that distraction really well. Theory's sitting low, but he probably will have the reload before Positive. We'll have to see how that one works out. Delgado's also on reload, so every tank's on reload.
Yeah, indeed. And I think we found out exactly who came off the better in that situation. Delgado will roll away as now B&D is in trouble, surrounded by the opposition. Muppety, the only one near, well, he's not even that near in that T1. He's going to have to try and reposition as Delgado is moving in for the kill. Just dancing over those tracks. Euroffish having to push up now and help them out. And, well, SPALE are at a huge disadvantage. DeNova keeping the advantage of numbers and just about everything else. Euroffish finally coming in, tracking the likes of Positive there in that T69. Oh, doesn't connect the shell though. B&D desperately need that one as now YR joins in on the fun. Positive is still alive as now there goes one of them. It's Euroffish now surrounded. He tried to help out, but now it might be the absolute undoing of him, and it is. GG's are said as Muppety is just out of there. He's had enough.
Yeah, Muppety's not going to join the fun at all.
Nope.
But really good play from DeNova, showing what they can do, showing that they're a stronger team than they were in Season 1, really developing themselves as a team. We saw Cripple, and I believe it was YR pushing straight down the middle, straight across, straight away, trying to proxy spot SPALE. And I think these teams have been cheekily watching each other replays, because that was almost an exact counter to SPALE's tactic. It was pretty much down to the T.
Yeah, there's been some watching of the old replays and demos going out there. Those guys knew exactly what they're doing. That was a risky strategy as well from DeNova, and to put so much pressure into a push like that, that's brave. So obviously they've kind of watched back and gone, okay, we know what's going on here, guys. Let's make sure we execute this one properly, and they did. That was fantastic.
Really good initiative play from them. And when it came down to when SPALE started putting the pressure on in the middle, we saw Aga charging forwards in that T69, BND as well, supporting him. DeNova kept their cool, you know. They put Positive behind in the MX-3090. He could connect the shells onto the side of Aga. He was also, you know, able to retreat and get out of any bad situations. So, you know, although, you know, DeNova had an early advantage, taking down Dovahkiin very early on, you know, they still kept their cool, something some teams struggle with.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of teams crumble under that pressure, obviously. But now we do know the winner of that one. Just before we got ahead of ourselves before, don't worry, guys. We've learned how to count now. We took a little bit of a breather there ourselves, and, you know, I get confused when I can't count my hands. But obviously DeNova there, sticking true to trend. You know, back in the past, they'd kind of done this a couple of times. I think SPALE's only won once or twice out of every exchange they've had, and there's been a few. So obviously SPALE are going to have to go back to the drawing board. They've been doing so well recently as well, and that's the sad thing. SPALE, you know, they've been getting up the results. They've been challenging the big teams and just couldn't quite do it there.
No, but luckily I got it right, 3-2 to DeNova.
Luckily you got it right.
Because, well, last week I didn't get really that much right. I got like half of it. So I'm glad I started off on the right foot. You know, DeNova did take it 3-2. Very, very strong team from them, very strong performance from them even. SPALE, as you said, have been having good performances, but DeNova, really a team that stepped it up, you know. They've really taken it into their hands to try and improve as a team in Season 2. Obviously, they didn't qualify for DreamHack, which I think they were really disappointed about. And I love to see how this team performs in the future, but also in the next match.
And that's the big point here. Obviously, we have seen them once they're up against SPALE. Now, SPALE couldn't quite challenge them enough that time. We saw some interesting strategies coming out from SPALE that just really kind of didn't catch them off guard at all and just made it rather easy for DeNova. But as we said before, that's just merely their warm-up now to face off against the big guys, the one and onlys who are sitting completely untouched until Dignitas somehow managed to dethrone them mid-season and take that first place. But it will be WoT Pro up against DeNova, and that's going to be an incredible game. Now, I daren't make any predictions towards that one yet, but I want to know exactly how your predictions went down, obviously, the game we just saw, because I couldn't even count who'd won that many games, so let alone my prediction on that. I think I was wrong. I think I supported SPALE on that one. But nevertheless, I know someone who'll be keeping exact score of exactly how this one's going. Melly, how's it going over there, my dear?
Well, yeah.
Don't look disappointed in me.
No, I'm not, because the whole community was standing right behind your choice. So everybody was cheering for SPALE, and everybody was thinking that SPALE is going to be the victor of this matchup. But no, sorry. No, I I really have trouble finding someone voting for DeNova, to be honest. We have one person predicting the exact score of the of our matchup, and well, congratulations, Paul, you're getting a bonus code for sure. And the second, well, the second and only vote for DeNova was 3-1. And yeah, it's pretty
Close enough.
so you're getting a bonus code as well. So
What I like is
not
that they're just copying my score. I said 3-2, and some guys, I'm just going to use his brains and put that down. You know, I'm not complimenting myself or anything, but you cheeky, very cheeky.
I can't believe anyone supported you. I'm
Really?
kind of worried.
I'm
in
glad there's at least one person out there that's supporting me. Otherwise, there just wouldn't be anyone. We need someone, you know, really giving me the backup, because you guys don't. You just, you know, always
little
laying
him.
into. Yeah.
How will he cope?
Aw,
How will he cope?
he's really sad, isn't he?
I love the sarcasm. Lowest form of wit, they say that. So
At least we have wit. Anyway, we do have another game
Wow.
coming up today. Obviously, we did see DeNova then, but it'll be against WoT Pro, the guys who now will have so much kind of... there's got to be some want there to get back into this. They lost to Dignitas. They now don't want to kind of lose at all. These guys, they've got a lot to prove now. They've been pushed. That's the thing. They've kind of been shown that they're human. That's the weird thing with them. Everyone before that point thought they were untouchable. You know what I mean? These guys were the team that no one could beat until that one moment at DreamHack that it all came tumbling down. But we're only midway through the season, so it's going to be kind of tough. So what's your predictions quickly towards that one?
I think it's going to go 3-1 to DeNova. Just putting it out there.
Yeah, indeed. Melly, what's your predictions, actually? I want to know what your predictions are towards this.
Well, I just got the result from WoT Pro. They won 3-0 against Azuba.
Ooh.
So I think it's going to be a tough one. I don't know the exact winner, but I think it's going to be a 3-2 match.
Ooh.
That is going to be close as well.
Yeah. Close, because DeNova was pretty strong.
That's true. That is very true.
And before we get into the break, I still have something, because you people at home have the chance of asking our experts questions
Stop
via
saying
Twitter.
plural.
Expert.
Expert and Pansy. Expert and
So horrible.
I'm not. No. I'm going to be nice. Our experts, and yeah, go on Twitter. At first, follow WoT Pro League and ask your questions. But make sure using the hashtag WoT Pro League, so I can actually find that question and ask Pansy and Laughter. And we do have questions.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Any good ones so far?
Yeah. Of course.
Can I
Our
have one
community
of them?
always gives good questions.
Okay.
So first question is, what is your favorite tank?
Mine?
You're both.
Oh, I think you already know what mine is anyway. It's the IS-3. I love the tank. It's the first one that I actually had a really good game on. It was like... I was lucky enough to get the press count, so I could like try out everything. And I was like, oh, this one looks cool. I've seen this played loads of times. I was like, all right, I'm going to try this one out. Or for like the first 5 games, I was so bad in it. And everyone expected me to be good. Because they're like,
Yeah, you got a high tier
yeah,
tank.
and they're like, oh, why aren't you doing awesome? I'm like, I'm trying. And then I had like the first one good game, and then I went back to my original account and I'm trying to grind up to it now. Because it's so good. It is just so damn strong. I love it.
It's like that all-round tank. It's so good at everything. You can bounce shells, do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
People underestimate it a lot as well. But my favorite tank, it's a tough one. I think it's unexpectedly the Hetzer, you know? I think
Really?
for me, the Hetzer's going to Hetz. I mean, it's
Wow.
It's a small little tank. Does a lot of damage. The 105mm just derps the hell out of everything. Like you end up the game with like 7 kills because it's just one-shots everything in your team. Obviously, slightly less powerful since the changes to heat, but still my favorite tank, and I love to play that thing. It's just an absolute beast.
Melly, what's your favorite tank then?
Okay, T2-1, T2, the small one. I like the small ones. They're fast.
Indeed.
Oh,
Any more
gosh.
questions?
Those looks. I'm so sorry.
I don't know what
always
you're talking
do.
about.
I'm sorry. That's the curse of non-native speakers.
We just got dirty minds. Don't worry about it.
Okay, next questions. next question. When there are big standoffs, what are some effective ways to help the team break the stalemate?
Oh, that's all for you there.
Well, post 8.6, I would have said artillery certainly is, you know, it does that. You know, it can connect the shells. Suddenly, you know, you lose an AMX39, so you have to do something that breaks the standoffs.
Yeah.
But now it's what we saw DeNova doing. You know, taking it really onto the other team and trying to kind of pincer them, get them in an awkward situation. And even, you know, on Game of Himmelsdorf, DeNova crushed SPALE because SPALE, you know, they took a couple of shots and it kind of panicked them and they get, like, you know, in the headlights a bit. So I think it's about connecting the shells at the beginning, getting an early HP advantage, or doing something completely off the wall and the other team doesn't expect.
Okay, thank you. And last question is, what tank generation is the best to farm credits without premium count, and premium tanks don't count as well?
Tank generation?
Yeah.
So tier 8, I guess they're talking about tiers. I would say probably around that tier 5 area, tier 6 maybe. Obviously, as soon as you go start past tier 7, tier 8 line, then you have to kind of have a premium count unless you know, really do well every battle. So yeah, I think you're talking about American tanks, you know, T-71, tier 6, tier 7 tanks are probably your best bet.
Okay, so keep the questions coming by using the hashtag WoT Pro League, and follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and yeah, let's see what the community holds for us in questions for
I'm
experts.
so scared.
No,
I am
just
terrified.
my mind.
I know what goes on in my mind, and I'm not even in Twitch chat right now. I know what those guys are like. Scary.
They're pretty alright, but they have some scary stuff, that's just for sure.
Kappa. That's
Kappa.
all I know.
Right.
Anyway, guys, obviously we've had the first game there. You know how you guys need to get involved, get your predictions going, get involved, because we want to know what your thoughts are, because then he might think he's actually right at something, and, you know, he might be able to dig deep and find one prediction that matches his. Anyway, we will be having Virtus Pro coming up next, up against DeNova. We've seen them once today. They didn't really get too pushed to their limits by SPALE, but I'm sure they will be coming up against Virtus Pro, the recently dethroned kings of this. I can't say it enough. These guys were so good, and then suddenly they look human. They recently, you know, someone's just given a little bit of a nick and they can actually bleed blood, you know what I mean? These guys have...
It's green blood, but it's still blood.
Yeah, it's not quite normal yet, but, you know, we know they can be damaged, they can be hurt. And maybe DeNova can keep that trend up. But we're going to have to find out after this break, obviously. During that time, make sure you get involved on the Twitter and Facebook, as Melly told you how to do, because we need to know your thoughts, and you get a chance to win some awesome prizes. So, guys, we'll be back in a bit, but do stay tuned, because there's an amazing game coming up.
Let me go, we'll meet again soon.